Hello, we are Hands, and we're going to start the magnetic single shadow tournament. So I did just want to first show you guys that I did randomize. It doesn't show how I randomized, but I wrote out all 5 palettes that my magnetic single shadows are in, and I numbered, obviously they're numbered, and so I would randomize them, and that is how they ended up here on this guy. So just wanted to show that for continuity's sake. We have all 5 palettes here. This first round is going to be hands. We're going to be swatching on my hand here, and then after that, the next rounds will be eye swatches. So let me get out this first page of round and we'll get into it. All right, this is round 1. We have Copacetic Santa Baby, which looks like this. Beautiful shade versus Ensley Rain Secret Stash. I think this is such a good first round. They're honestly somewhat similar. But just due to the fact that I've used the Copacetic one more, and I like the peachiness that this one flips, we're going to send Santa Baby off to round 2, and you go to the Shadow Realm. All right, this is round 2. We have one of my newest. This is Simply Posh Snow Angel. Going to be covered in sparkles by the end of this. Versus Pretties for Your Face Cold Snap. I do love my Pretties for Your Face shades. So we got some purple going on. So let's see. You know, I like the sparkle that's in the Simply Posh shade. It's a little more unique, so we're going to go with that one. And we're going to send Pretties for Your Face to the Shadow Realm. So next we have 2 Pretties for Your Face. I have the most Pretties for Your Face, so like it's going to happen. So we have Winged Serpent, which I'm pretty partial to because Ian picked this shade out for me. So even though I'm not a huge fan of blue shades like this, I am of this one. And then we have Pretties for Your Face Glacier. Ooh, Glacier is very pretty. But Glacier is dark, and I'm just so partial to Winged Serpent that we are going to move Winged Serpent along to the Shadow Realm. All right, next round we have Pretties for Your Face Ether, or Ether? I think it's Ether. This is one that, you know, it makes it through declutters. I always think about decluttering it, but like it just, because of the tone of green that it is, I think about decluttering it, but just look at how pretty it is. Versus one of the 2 Jeffree Star shades that I kept from the cremated palette. This is the shade Pallbearer. And though that shade is pretty, it doesn't hold a candle to this green shade. So Ether is gonna move on. What are the odds of this happening? My 2 Cleona shades against each other. So we have Bubbles. These are the only 2 shades I saved from the Dragon Fruit palette. And I'm pretty sure Bubbles is my favorite, so. And then we have, oh no, I have a 3rd shade. So I have 3 shades that I've saved. And then we have Dragon Teeny. These 2 are so good. But Bubbles. Bubbles has to move on. It is my favorite. Next, we have a double Pretties for Your Face round again. So we have Pretties for Your Face Roma, which I don't think I've used this shade yet. I think this is still needing to be used. So there's Roma, absolutely stunning. And then we have Pretties for Your Face Solstice, which even though this is a darker shade, I do really love it. Like, it's just a beautiful purple, but there's something so unique about Roma that I just love Roma so much that that's what's gonna move on. All right, our next mashup is we have a matte versus a shimmer for the first time. We have one of the shades I saved from the Alter Ego Goddess palette. This is the shade Athena, because I just love how, like, murky this shade is. I think it's so pretty. It's giving, like, poop, but love it. Versus Pretties for Your Face. This is Red Light, Green Light. Which is very pretty. I think for a shimmer versus matte battle, this is pretty good, but I'm gonna go with Pretties for Your Face because I prefer my shimmers for my magnetic singles. The next shimmer versus matte mashup, we have Sydney Grace Bravo, which Sydney Grace does not inherently swatch very well, but this shade does. So there's Bravo versus the other Jeffree Star shade that I saved. This is Diamond Ashes. So this one is so good. And I'm telling you right now, that's the one we're saving. So sorry, Sydney Grace, but Diamond Ashes is moving forward. Here's our next matchup. We have Pretties for Your Face Cobweb, which is beautiful. It's got like a little bit of orange, but just a stunning shade, versus Ensley Rain Hoppy Hour. And my Ensley Rain shades that I saved are so pretty. They really are. I do really like Cobweb though. This one's hard. I think because it's fall when I'm doing this, and that might make me a little biased, I'm going to go with Cobweb. The Pretties for Your Face shade is going to move on. We got another Pretties for Your Face double feature. So this is Razzmatazz. One of my favorites. I do love this shade so very much. It's a beautiful pink with almost like a blue reflect in it. Very gorgeous. And then we have Pretties for Your Face Trinbago, which this is one of my oldest shades left in my collection from Pretties for Your Face. This is one of the very first shades I ever got from them. Beautiful red, which I do love so much, but if we're just talking about like which shade do I prefer Razzmatazz. So it pains me greatly to take Trinbago out of the running. Razzmatazz is going to move on. All right, we have my first repressed shade. So this is a shade that I saved from a palette that I personally repressed into this pan. So this is from a Ladybug Glow palette. It's in the shade Magical. I think it was from the End of the Rainbow palette, and I saved it. So this is that shade there. And then we have that up against Pretties for Your Face Hidden Treasure, which has been a long time favorite. It's like a minty sage green. See, I don't necessarily love the flash that has, so we're gonna go with Pretties for Your Face Hidden Treasure. So we have a pretty good matchup here. We have, this is Pretties for Your Face Festive. So this is a nice little shifty guy. It's purple to green. Or green to purple. I never know how to... Purple to green. There we go. And then we have Ensley Rain Clever, which I think this will be a good one to pair against it because this is like a greeny blue. Ooh, those are similar. You know, this one's darker and it's a little more piecey. I like how thin and even this one is, and I like that gold. We're actually going to push the Ensley Rain one through. Finally, an Ensley Rain shadow is going to go through. We got a little snowman here. We have Give Me Glow Electric Unicorn. Probably one of the prettiest shades in my collection. So this is more of just me showing you these two because this is not even a matchup. Versus this beautiful bronzer. This is Sydney Grace Starlight. It is a very pretty shade, but it cannot beat this Give Me Glow shadow. So that is what is going to move forward. All right, so we have Pretties for Your Face Electrified. So this is another very pretty duochrome. You guys are seeing purple. I'm seeing bronze. And let's see if it'll, like a taupey bronze. But it is a beautiful purple. And then this is another shade that I saved. This is from the Huda Wild Jaguar or the Wild Python. It might have been the Wild Python, but it was that center purple shifty shade. I saved that, which looks like this. Very similar shades, to be honest. But I love this Huda shade so much that that's what's going to move on, is this Huda center shade. I know it doesn't look the best. I didn't have a smaller pan to press this in. But that's what's going to move forward. Alright, our next matchup here, we have a copacetic shade. So this is Foliage. And this is a shifty little guy. I mean, all my copacetic shades are shifty little guys. Look at that. You see nothing and kapow! And you're seeing pink, I'm seeing yellow and gold. And then we have Pretties for Your Face Haunted. Beautiful shade, perfect for this time of year. Dun 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 dun. That is my perfect shade of green. So as much as I love this shifty shade, this is not my favorite copacetic shade. I'm going to go with the Pretties for Your Face Haunted, and that's what's going to move on for this one. All right, our next matchup, we have another copacetic shade. So this one is Bowling Alley. So kind of similar to the last one, but a little lighter in tone. Versus Sydney Grace Rover. Now this is a satin, I believe. I don't think this is a full-on shimmer, but it might be a shimmer. As pretty as that is from Sydney Grace, like, I'm gonna go with the copacetic shade. We have our first double matte battle. So we have from Sydney Grace, this is Dearest Constant D. Probably the longest shade name I have for a single shadow. And that is the shade there. I am gonna go in a second time, because like I said, Sydney Grace shades like to not swatch the best, but they go on the eyes so much better than they swatch. And then we have another one of the shades I saved from the Alter Ego palette, and this one is the shade Gaia. So we have very similar pigment level, but I just like this teal shade more, so I'm going to go with the Alter Ego shade, and we're going to get rid of the Sydney Grace one. We have another Pretties for Your Face battle. So we have the shade Taffeta, which is another one of my favorites. It's just like Razzmatazz, where it's that pinky shade. But this one shifts just straight silver instead of that blue. And then we have Pretties for Your Face Oompa Loompa, which I have not used yet in my Imageddon series. So here's Oompa Loompa, which would be very pretty for this time of year. And as pretty as that is, I have to go with Taffeta. There's just something about these pink shades that I really do love. So I am going to push that one forward. All right, so now we have Ensley Rain Squirrely, which is probably my favorite Ensley Rain single that I have, because I just love the red that this shifts. It's a beautiful, fiery copper, red, orange. It's just giving fall, burnt leaves. Versus, this is Pretties for Your Face Spine Tingling. So this is basically the opposite of Festive. Festive was purple that shifted green, and this one is green that shifts purple, which I'm seeing purple. You guys are seeing green. This one's hard because these are nothing alike. I like the formula of spine tingling way better than Festive, and I know I didn't put Festive forward. So as much as I like this Ensley Rain shade, I'm going to put spine tingling forward. Next, again, we have a Pretties for Your Face battle. So we have Melancholy, one of my newer to me shades, which I do like. As you can see, I have a type. It's either got a shift like a bluey purple or a pink. Very, very pretty. And then we have Sour Tangerine, which this is in my current I'm-a-getting. It's an orange with a green to it. But if I'm choosing between these two, I love the sparkle that Melancholy has, whereas this is just, it's a shimmer, but it's a smooth shimmer. So I'm going to go with Melancholy for this round. Next, we have another matte versus shimmer. So we have Sydney Grace Relax, which let's see how this one swatches. Well, that one swatches pretty great. Just a nice brown versus my other Simply Posh shimmer that I just got. So this one is the shade Growth. Very pretty. And I do love that pink shift. I love the yellow. So as nice as this matte is, and I really do love Sydney Grace shadows, I'm gonna go with the Simply Posh shade for this round. So we have another matte versus shimmer. We have my big old Give Me Glow shade. This is the shade Bubblegum. I love using this as a blush. It is a beautiful shade. It gives you that bubblegum pink blush look. Versus Sydney Grace Yours Forever. And this is another one of those shimmery, satiny. Ooh, this one has a lot more shimmer than that brown one did. That one's gorgeous. And as much as I love it and I want to push a Sydney Grace shade through, I love this pink bubblegum shade so much that the Give Me Glow is going to win the round. All right, we got another big in here. This is Sydney Grace Heaven. This is a highlighter that I've had for a while now, and it is stunningly beautiful. I love this highlighter. Versus Copacetic Pool Party, which this is a beautiful shade, but it is a more textured shade. So we're going to push this Sydney Grace one through. This is going to be the Sydney Grace shade that gets to go. All right, now we have Copacetic Garden Picnic, which this is beautiful. It's a lovely green to gold versus Pretties for Your Face Sensation. And this one is a orange with a pink flash. They're both beautiful, but I like the flash on the Copacetic shade better. So the Copacetic shade is going to move on. We have my last Cleona shade. This is the shade Infusion. Gorgeous little purple guy with like a taupey overtone. Versus Sydney Grace Heart and Soul, which this is just a really nice my skin tone shade matte. It's got a slight pinkiness to it, which I do really like this shade, but we've got to put the Cleona one through. So Infusion is moving on. I feel like this one is not a fair mashup at all. We have Alter Ego Artemis, which of course I had to keep because look at it. She is stunning. Versus Give Me Glow Fiesta. So it's a gold, it's got green, it's got like red. It's a multi-chrome. The Give Me Glow one has to move on. Even though I really do love this Alter Ego shade, and had it been paired up with something else, it might have moved on, but I've got to move on that beautiful multi-chrome. All right, our second to last battle here, we have Copacetic Divination, which again is one of these darker shades that I really do love because I just love how it shifts. It's got that bluey purpleness. Versus Sydney Grace Acquiesce, and this is one of my newer matte browns. So let's see, how is she gonna swatch? My hand has been wet from the makeup wipe, so it's not gonna swatch the best, but you do get a little bit of that color. I'm gonna put the Copacetic shade through. In our very last battle, we have Pretties for Your Face Orb. So this is a purple, which again is gonna have that beautiful bluey shift. Versus Give Me Glow Xenon. This is another multi-chrome. See, this almost has like a flaky texture to it, which I don't love. Come on, focus. I hope that this whole video hasn't been out of focus, but even if it has, you can still see what's going on. I'm gonna go with the Give Me Glow shade. Even though I don't love the texture, I love the shade that it is. So that is it for round one. That is it for hands. So we're gonna go to eyeballs now. All right, I'm coming at you barefaced, hair back. I know it's a lot, but we're gonna do eye swatches for round two of the magnetic singles tournament. And so I figured I don't need anything on for that. So our very first round is Copacetic Santa Baby versus Simply Posh Snow Angel. So we have Santa Baby. And I'm doing these with no primer on the eyes. We're just laying them down. Very soft, very smooth. It's got like a pink base with a yellow flip. And then we have Snow Angel. Okay, definitely harder pressed. But a beautiful shade, nevertheless. It's like a dark bluish silver with pink sparkles. It's very dark though. Though it's pretty, I think Santa Baby is going to move on. So that's round one. All right, for round two, while my eyes dry, we have a Pretties for Your Face mashup. So this is Winged Serpent versus Ether. Beautiful bright green. Let me make sure my eyeballs are dry. So Winged Serpent, I believe, is a holochrome shade. So it has like the hollow glitters in it. Man, none of these go as far as the Copacetic shades do. And I've never just like put these all over the lid. Because this is not how I roll when it comes to shadows. But maybe I should do this with all of my shades just to see how I like them. because honestly, I thought Winged Serpent was gonna go through, but I like Ether better, which is crazy to me. So Ether's gonna move on. The next mashup, we have Cleona Bubbles, my favorite Cleona shade, versus Pretties for Your Face Aroma. So make sure the eyeballs are dry. All right. So, Cleona Bubbles. I love the shade so much, but again, it doesn't go very far. Well, we can't fault my messy application. Because it will get messier as time goes on. I'm sure of it. And then we have Aroma. Which is a beautiful shade from Pretties for Your Face. It's got like a taupey pink base with purple sparkle. Oh, and it's so pretty. It's so pretty. Okay, I gotta do it. I can't believe I'm doing it, but Roma's gonna move on. Wow. Wow, that pains me. That pains me a lot. Now this is a good matchup. We have Pretties for Your Face Red Light, Green Light versus Jeffree Star Diamond Ashes. So let's do Pretties for Your Face on this eye. They're both basically just white shades with some shimmery glitters in them. Right off the bat, I can see that the Jeffree Star shade is more smooth. There's more texture to the Pretties for Your Face shade. So they're both pretty in their own right, but I like Red Light, Green Light better. So that's what we're gonna go with. Red Light, Green Light. The next mashup we have is Pretties for Your Face Cobweb, beautiful for this time of year, versus Pretties for Your Face Razzmatazz, one of my absolute favorites. So let's see if one of my favorites prevails. Cobweb is currently in my Imageddon palette. So there's Cobweb. Oh, Razzmatazz is so pretty. Thank God it wasn't Razzmatazz up against Taffeta, my two pink shades. I don't know if I'd be able to pick one. They're both very pretty, but I'm gonna go with Razzmatazz. It is just stunning. Stunningly gorgeous. Okay, and then the last one for this set is Pretties for Your Face Hidden Treasure versus Ensley Rain Clever. And then I have to get out the rest of them. I do love this Pretties for Your Face shade. I think it's such a pretty, like, minty sage green. It's so gorgeous. But I think this is the only Ensley Rain shade that made it. There might be one more. No, I just don't love that as much. I'm gonna put Hidden Treasure to move on. Darn. All right, our next set here is Give Me Glow Electric Unicorn versus my repressing of Huda Beauty's Center Purple shade. Oh, I never took my eyes off. My apologies. So now we're ready to go with Electric Unicorn, which I always really like these Give Me Glow shades. So this one flips to a beautiful yellow. That is stunning. And then this Huda shade, I saved it because it's just so unique of a purple that I had to keep it. And it is so unique of a purple, but unfortunately up against Give Me Glow, it's not gonna make the cut. All right, next we have Copacetic Bowling Alley versus our first matte. This is Alter Ego Gaia. So I'm hoping the matte will go on just as nicely as these shimmers do. All right. Okay. Bowling Alley is pretty. Let's see. You know, I might use a brush for the mattes. Just to try to really pack on that color. One more. There. Because you do have one more matte, so let me get pigment off the brush. But as much as I love that matte, a matte I don't think can go up against a shimmer. I just really don't think it can. So Copacetic Bowling Alley is going to move forward. Sorry about that. Ian called. So where were we? Our next match up is, as I get some of the shadow on my finger, we have Pretties for Your Face Spine Tingling versus Pretties for Your Face Melancholy. So let's get these on the face. Ooh, this one's soft on the eyeball. That is so pretty. I love the just like diffused sparkle. I'm not very, and this is my first time really sitting here and doing eye swatches, so if you'd like to see it done a different way or something else, just let me know. Oh, they're both really pretty. gonna go with Spine Tingling. I really like this color. I think that that's pretty. So that's gonna be our winner. Next we have Simply Posh Growth versus Give Me Glow Bubblegum, our other matte. So let me get the Simply Posh shade on the eyes. These Simply Posh shades are pressed really hard. So this is gonna take me a second. But it's really pretty. It's very subtle. But it is like that greeny yellow with a pink shift. Very, very subtle. Versus, let's take our brush. Now, I usually use this bubblegum shade as a blush. It's so pigmented. Boom. I think just because of what it's up against, I love how pigmented this Give Me Glow shade is, and I love using it as a blush. We're actually going to go with this shade. We're going to go with the matte. We have one matte that's going to prevail. All right, and now next we have Sydney Grace Heaven versus Copacetic Garden Picnic, which this has like a green shift, a greeny gold. But Sydney Grace Heaven, it's the only Sydney Grace shade that made it. It's actually a highlighter, but it's just so nice. Look at that. That's so pretty. And you can't tell me it's not. But then we have Garden Picnic, which is just to die for? Question mark? Yeah, as pretty as Heaven is, Garden Picnic has to move on. So sorry, Sydney Grace. I love you so very much, but I just gotta go with the sparkly shades. So next, we have 2 little rounds left, but I'm gonna take my favorite from both of these rounds because we have an odd number. And I don't want an odd number going into round 3, so I will show you what we're doing. So first we have Cleona Infusion versus Give Me Glow Fiesta. And I already stuck my finger into Infusion. So that's gonna go on this side. I actually, when I wore makeup earlier today, had this in my eye look. It's a really pretty, just light purple versus Give Me Glow Fiesta. Wow. Yeah, as pretty as that Cleona shade is, the Give Me Glow is what's going to win. And then we're going to see what wins the next one. And I'm going to pick my favorite from those two. So this might not move forward. We'll see. For this last round here, we have Copacetic Divination versus Give Me Glow Xenon, which I actually wore Xenon today as well. So Divination over here. Which Divination is one of my darker shimmers, but I do really like it. It's very pretty. And then yeah, Xenon is just, yep, the Give Me Glow shades. The Give Me Glow shades have to move on. So let me take this off my eyes, and we're going to hand swatch the two Give Me Glow shades so I can figure out which one I want to move on. And grab. So we have Give Me Glow Fiesta, which is like a gold to a burgundy to a purple. And then we have Give Me Glow Xenon, which is like an icy blue to a purple to a gold. And they're both absolutely stunningly beautiful. But I think I'm going to go with Give Me Glow Fiesta as my winner. Xenon is beautiful and deserves a spot 110%. But I just think we're going to go with Give Me Glow Fiesta. Boom. And round 3, we have 3 matchups for round 3, which I will be doing absolutely on a different day. My eyeballs hurt. I don't know if eye swatches are for me. I don't know if we're going to do eye swatches for round 3. I have not decided, but that is everything for round 2, and I'll see you in round 3. All right, let's get into round 3 of our magnetic singles tournament. So I have all of my singles palettes next to me. So I'm going to grab out all of them, and then we'll get into, I think I'm going to do hands. So obviously I can't do eye swatches. That sucked, and I don't feel like it was super helpful. So I think we're going to do hand swatches, maybe blend them out on my hand, talk about them a little bit more. That's what I'm feeling. Alrighty, I got them all out. So we can go ahead and just get started. So our first matchup is Copacetic Santa Baby versus Pretties for Your Face Ether. So Santa Baby is probably one of the most emollient shades I have in my collection. There's it spread on my hand. It is one of my favorites. I love a good pinky shimmer, especially one with this gold flip. But there's something about this green that it's almost too yellow, but it's just the right amount of that light green that I still love. Because there's a yellow green that I don't like, but this is just the right amount of like limey green that I still enjoy with the gold. But even blended out, there's something about Santa Baby that I just can't get over. I love it so very much. So Copacetic Santa Baby is going to move on to the final round. For our next round, we have Pretties for Your Face Roma, which is such a unique shade in my whole collection, versus Pretties for Your Face Red Light, Green Light. So Roma is so beautiful. So before we blend it, it's got this like taupe base with a pinky purple sparkle. Which when you blend it out, I think you can see the sparkle better. Like, oh. It always makes me think of Lauren May Beauty, like the taupe base. Oh, it's so pretty. But Red Light, Green Light is very flaky, which I don't normally love. And it's that icy white that I do love. And it's just got some like red and green little sparkles. Just little teeny tiny sparkles in it. I don't think there's any debate or comparison. As much as I love a good just icy white shimmer, Roma has to move forward. All right, our next matchup is Pretties for Your Face Razzmatazz, one of my favorites, versus another really good one, Pretties for Your Face Hidden Treasure. So Razzmatazz is that beautiful pink that I love with like a silvery flash. It is gorgeous. And then Hidden Treasure is just the best minty sage that I have in my collection. And it has this like silver but also gold flash to it. Okay, I didn't think I was going to do this because I love Razzmatazz so much, but upset, I'm going to move Hidden Treasure on. And I don't know who I am. I even just highlighted Razzmatazz in my book just now thinking like, oh, you're moving Razzmatazz on. Who am I? But I think there's just something so unique about Hidden Treasure that it's gotta go on. So the next matchup is Give Me Glow Electric Unicorn versus Copacetic Bowling Alley, which I think this is a really good matchup. So Give Me Glow Electric Unicorn. It's a green to a pink gold, because when I'm looking at it, I see green. But you guys see this pinky gold. And it's just so smooth. And then the copacetic shade. So I see gold. You guys are going to see a pinky purple. It's beautiful, but there's just something so smooth because, like, I think you can see the texture difference between the two. And I love how reflective that is. The Give Me Glow shade is going to move on. So our next matchup, we have Pretties for Your Face Spine Tingling versus our only matte that made it this far is Give Me Glow Bubblegum. Love it. So Spine Tingling is a purple that shifts green. So you guys are seeing that beautiful green. I'm seeing purple. It is stunning. And then we have Give Me Glow Bubblegum, which is just the perfect bubblegum pink. But it doesn't blend out the best. So we can be very happy that a matte made it all the way to round 3. But Spine Tingling is going to move forward. And our last matchup for round 3, we have Copacetic Garden Picnic versus Give Me Glow Fiesta. So Garden Picnic has like a green shift to a gold, because again, I'm seeing green, like obviously in the camera I see gold, but when I'm looking straight down at it, I see this beautiful green. It's so soft. The copacetic shades are so soft. And the Give Me Glow, so when I'm looking at it, I see gold, like a bronzy, coppery gold, to green, to burgundy. And you guys are really going to see that burgundy. Wow. And it's got like a black base, which I don't love. Like, I don't love how that looks. So as much as I like that shade, we are actually going to put Garden Picnic forward. So that is the end of round 3. Let me get cleaned up, put away the shades that lost, and we will get into round 4 and the finals. That's the final matchups. We'll see who wins in just a moment here. All right, so for the top of round 4, let me write that down. We have Copacetic Santa Baby versus Pretties for Your Face Roma. This one's going to be tough. So there's Santa Baby, and there's Roma. This is a tough one. So basically it's, do you want the warm tone shade or the cool tone shade? The copacetic shade just gives me less texture, and I really do love it. So as much as Roma is a gorgeous shade, Santa Baby is going to move on to our very, very last matchup. All right, our next matchup, we have Pretties for Your Face Hidden Treasure versus Give Me Glow's Electric Unicorn. Ooh, this is gonna be also tough, which it should be this late in the game. So we have Hidden Treasure. Is there a hint of pink that I've never noticed before? Versus the Give Me Glow. There's something so magical and so beautiful about Hidden Treasure that Hidden Treasure has to move on. I do really love that Give Me Glow shade. That's probably my favorite Give Me Glow shade I have in my collection, but there's just something magical about that that's got to move on. And last but not least, for this round 4, before we get into the finals, we have Pretties for Your Face Spine Tingling versus Copacetic Garden Picnic. So let's see. So here's Spine Tingling. Beautiful. Versus Garden Picnic. So now I will say, Spine Tingling is getting everywhere. Spine Tingling is a very loosely pressed shade. It's all over my desk, and so for that reason, it's done made me upset and angry. And even though it's pretty, like, if it's gonna keep poofing out everywhere, I'm gonna just end up decluttering it because I don't have time for the cleanup. So we're gonna move on Copacetic Garden Picnic. And now I've got to clean up my whole desk. All right, and for our finale, we have a 3-way tie. So we will see who the winner is. We have Copacetic Santa Baby, right there, versus Pretties for Your Face Hidden Treasure, right there, versus Copacetic Garden Picnic, right there. So I can already say it's not Garden Picnic. That comes in at spot number 3. So is it Santa Baby or Hidden Treasure? Based on the dips in the pans, Hidden Treasure has a bigger dip. I think I've also owned Hidden Treasure longer. It's gonna be a full upset. I'm going Pretties for Your Face Hidden Treasure. And the Copacetic shades are 2nd and 3rd. So this right here is our winner. Out of every single shadow in my collection, magnetic, this is my favorite. That is not what I thought it was going to be, honestly. But also, I know I really do like this shade. I'm just writing this down. So that is crazy to me. I'll have to use that in a look ASAP just to, you know, give it some love again, because I know it's been a minute since I've used it because it's been a while since it was in Imageddon. But that is going to do it for my magnetic single tournament. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you have any suggestions on how you would like me to do the eyeshadow palette one. Because I would like to swatch some things, but should I just wait till we're in the final round, like round 3 to swatch from the palettes, and just round 1 and 2 just talk about the palettes in general and that be from it? How do you want to see? Do you want overhead style? Do you want to see me showing you the palette? Like, I would just love if you have any feedback on how you'd like to see that, because that is our last tournament video, is my eyeshadow palettes. So that will be coming eventually. So that's going to do it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I can't believe that that's the shadow that won. That still blows me away. The upset of the season. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.